Juliet, what should I do? And I said, wake him. And then she called me back.
Life doesn't fall out like an entertainment. It really doesn't.
They found a spot on the x-rays. It was lung cancer.
They say a picture's worth 1,000 words, but some photos speak from the grave. The final images of Hollywood's brightest stars don't just capture a moment, they capture a mystery.
So you could be watching it in 50 years' time, easy. I'll not be here, sadly.
From smiles that hide silent pain to haunting stares that seem to know what's coming, these aren't just the last photos. They're clues to Hollywood's darkest endings. Carrie Fisher, Hollywood royalty, and the galaxy's forever Princess Leia. She grew up under the spotlight, the daughter of Debbie Reynolds and Eddie Fisher, and somehow turned chaos into charisma. She was sharp, brutally honest, and unfiltered, a rare soul who could laugh about the madness of fame, even as it quietly consumed her.
And I like being able to make it go the way that I want, since I haven't been able to do that in my actual life.
But that last photo, taken by a fan on a plane from London to LA, it's disturbingly ordinary, almost too calm. Carrie smiles faintly, her eyes tired, distant, as if she already knew her story was reaching its final chapter. Hours later, she collapsed mid-flight, a cruel twist of fate or something else.
We have some breaking news now, interrupting that conversation with Ian Bremmer. Some sad news. Star Wars actress Carrie Fisher has died. The 60-year-old actress suffered a heart attack back on Friday.
For someone who lived her whole life in fantasy worlds, that last picture feels chillingly real. A final still before the curtain fell on a woman who'd seen it all, survived it all, and somehow looked like she was saying goodbye without saying a word. John Wayne, the ultimate symbol of American grit, the man who made the cowboy myth real. For decades, he was Hollywood's Iron Man, swaggering across deserts, gun in hand, unbreakable. But behind that rugged image was a lifetime of cigarettes, whiskey, and pain the cameras never caught.
Well, singing's your racket. Besides, it's too easy.
What do you mean too easy?
Well, anyone can sing. It just takes a little practice.
I practice a lot.
Then came that Oscar night in 1979, his last public appearance. Gone was the towering Duke. What the cameras captured instead was a frail, pale man, hidden beneath makeup and forced smiles. His handshake trembled, his voice cracked, and yet the crowd still cheered. As if applause could drown out the truth that cancer had already claimed him.
My wife had talked me into getting yearly checkups at Scripps Clinic, and I went down there for my usual checkup, and they found it in time.
It wasn't just a photo, it was a farewell in disguise. The cowboy who once stared down death on screen was now face to face with it for real. And maybe the most haunting part? The world didn't want to see it. They didn't see a dying man. They saw John Wayne. And that illusion died with him. Robbie Coltrane, the gentle giant who brought Hagrid to life and made millions believe in magic again. On screen, he was warmth and wonder personified. The kind of character that felt immortal, like he'd always be there to welcome you back to Hogwarts. But off screen, Robbie was battling something far darker. Years of health struggles that slowly dimmed that legendary spark.
It's been 10 years of my life, and my children had grown up during it, of course.
In one of his last public appearances, fans noticed it immediately. The crutches, the fragile smile, the spark still there, but softer, like he was holding on, not just for himself, but for everyone who still needed a little magic. It wasn't just another event, it was a silent goodbye.
He loved making us laugh, and he was incredibly good at it.
When that final photo surfaced, the internet called it bittersweet. But look closer. Behind that half smile was acceptance, maybe even peace. The man who once said, "Hagrid will be here long after I'm gone," seemed to already know. And now, every time we see that picture, it's impossible not to feel like he was saying, "I'm ready to go home." Burt Reynolds, the original Hollywood heartthrob, the man every guy wanted to be, and every woman couldn't resist. With that devilish grin, mustache, and swagger that defined an era, Burt was pure charisma bottled in leather and gasoline. But the fast cars, the fame, and the flings came with a price. Broken relationships, bad business deals, and a health that was quietly falling apart behind the charm.
I've been at this for about 20 years now.
Well, if you were at it for 20 years and you only wanted to become an actor 3 years ago, for that other 17 years, what was it that kept you going?
That final photo, taken just 6 months before his death, hit fans like a gut punch. The man once called the king of cool looked almost unrecognizable, thin, fragile, and moving with the help of others. The confident smirk that once ruled movie posters was replaced with a tired, almost haunted stare.
CNN is now confirming that actor Burt Reynolds has died at the age of 82.
you.
It wasn't just age catching up. It felt like regret. A man who'd lived 1,000 lives but couldn't outrun time. When that image surfaced, it didn't just show Burt Reynolds. It showed Hollywood's illusion fading right before our eyes. The smile was still there, but for the first time, it wasn't hiding anything. Paul Newman, the blue-eyed rebel who made cool look effortless. He was the kind of star Hollywood doesn't make anymore. Charming, moral, impossibly talented. From Cool Hand Luke to The Sting, Newman wasn't just acting. He was defining what it meant to be iconic. But behind that ageless face was a man quietly battling the one fight he couldn't win: lung cancer.
I don't know that it's ever visible or that you can ever actually trace it, but I think it does happen, yes. Yeah.
That last photo, taken about a month before his death, stunned everyone. The man once known for his vitality looked frail, ghostly pale, his trademark grin replaced by a fragile, knowing calm. He was wearing a baseball cap and casual clothes, but something about his eyes, sunken yet piercing, told the truth Hollywood refused to say out loud.
I'm always amazed by the generosity of the people in this country.
It wasn't just a picture of a man near the end. It was a picture of Paul Newman unmasked, stripped of glamour, stripped of myth, and finally just human. And maybe that's what makes it so haunting. Even in his weakest moment, he still carried that quiet defiance, as if to say, I'm not afraid. I've played my part, Patrick Swayze, the man who made Dirty Dancing dangerous and Ghost unforgettable. He wasn't just a Hollywood heartthrob, he was pure intensity. A dancer, a fighter, a romantic who lived life like every moment was a scene worth remembering. But behind that unstoppable energy, cancer was silently stealing his strength.
Now we've switched gears because the blood tests and everything are looking like this cancer's getting wise. These cancers are very malleable and they adapt very quickly.
Those last photos, they broke the internet and hearts at once. The once chiseled leading man now gaunt, his skin pale, his frame shockingly thin, yet his spirit unshaken. He still smiled for fans, still held his head high, even as death was visibly closing in. It wasn't vanity or denial, it was defiance.
Once this type of cancer spreads to another organ, particularly the liver, there's usually no coming back. And Patrick was given just a few months to live.
Patrick's final images weren't glamorous, they were raw. The kind of photos Hollywood hates because they show the truth, that even legends fade. But there's something almost supernatural in his expression, like he knew he'd already transcended the fame, the pain, the body itself. Patrick Swayze wasn't saying goodbye. He was already halfway to forever. Jack Lemmon, Hollywood's everyman, the guy you laughed with, cried with, and somehow always trusted to tell the truth on screen. From Some Like It Hot to The Apartment, he was the master of charm wrapped in vulnerability, a man whose humor masked a lifetime of struggles off camera.
In Boston and then Philadelphia and everything. I had a Harvard dean who had told me all the time when I was at Harvard, you're never going to amount to anything. No, you're never going to do anything that is worthwhile.
That last photo at the Emmys 9 months before his death tells a story Hollywood tried to gloss over. He's getting a kiss from his wife, smiling politely, but look closer. The sparkle in his eyes is dimmer, his posture slightly frail. The camera captures a tender moment, but there's an underlying fragility, as if the world doesn't realize the fight he's losing silently to colon cancer.
There's word from California today that one of America's favorite actors, Jack Lemmon, has died of cancer. Lemmon was 76 years old. As an actor, he was the American everyman.
It's haunting. The audience sees a happy, loving star, but those who know the truth can't help but feel the shadow of mortality looming. Jack Lemmon's last public image wasn't just a kiss. It was a farewell disguised as love, a gentle reminder that even the brightest stars can flicker before the world is ready to say goodbye. Raquel Welch, the ultimate Hollywood bombshell, the woman whose sultry gaze and effortless glamour defined an era. From 1 million years BC to countless screen appearances, she wasn't just a star. She was an icon of desire and power. But beneath the flawless exterior, time was quietly reclaiming her. Her final public sighting, a seemingly mundane manicure in July 2022, 6 months before her death, is almost painfully ordinary. No red carpet, no cameras flashing, just Raquel, sitting quietly, looking human. The legendary sex symbol we remember, poised and commanding, now captured in a moment of stillness, vulnerability, and perhaps quiet resignation.
Then we have that breaking news, just learning actress Raquel Welch has died. Welch first rose to fame in 1966 for her back-to-back roles in Fantastic Voyage and 1 Million Years BC.
It's a haunting contrast. The same woman whose image once launched 1,000 fantasies now caught in a fleeting, almost domestic scene. A stark reminder that even legends must bow to time. That picture doesn't just show Raquel Welch, it whispers, "This is the real me," before the world says goodbye. Michael Gambon, the man who gave Dumbledore his gravitas, mystery, and warmth, turning a beloved character into a legend. On screen, he was commanding, wise, and unflinching. Off screen, he was a private figure, quietly navigating decades of stage and screen work with little of the Hollywood fanfare.
Happiness can be found even in the darkest of times.
In one of his final appearances before passing at 82, Gambon's once imposing presence had softened. His posture slightly stooped, his eyes carrying the weight of years, illness, and the inevitable march of time. For a man who had played a character synonymous with eternal wisdom, the last images are unsettling, the power and magic replaced by visible human frailty.
He was a Harry Potter favorite. We learned today that Sir Michael Gambon has died.
It's a jarring contrast. The immortal Dumbledore we loved, now reflected in a fragile earthly shell. That final look feels almost conspiratorial, like the wizard himself knows secrets of life and death the rest of us will never fully grasp. And in true Hollywood irony, the image that should have celebrated a legendary career instead reminds us how merciless time can be, even to those who seem larger than life. Marlon Brando, Hollywood's ultimate enigma, the man who redefined acting with A Streetcar Named Desire and The Godfather. He wasn't just a star, he was a force of nature, a genius who could charm, terrify, and mesmerize all at once. But brilliance came at a cost: excess, secrecy, and a body that slowly betrayed him over the decades.
You had no interest in acting in a movie after movie after movie over the years.
No, that's a waste of life. It's a waste of time. I don't find it stimulating or...
That last known photo before his death in 2004 is almost shocking. At 80 and tipping the scales over 300 pounds, the once magnetic Adonis of Hollywood looks almost unrecognizable, a colossal shadow of the man who had once commanded entire screens with a glance. His face, swollen and heavy, seems to mock the glamour the world once worshipped. It's more than a picture, it's a statement. Brando, the Godfather, who once wielded power like a weapon, now faces mortality in the rawest, unfiltered way. And there's something eerily symbolic in that image. The legend who controlled Hollywood's illusions finally caught in one he could no longer edit. A haunting portrait of fame, excess, and the relentless passage of time.
Listen, everybody in this life is an actor. Nobody goes around. You wake up in the morning and you think, "Hi, how are you?"
Lucille Ball, television's undisputed queen, the fiery redhead who turned I Love Lucy into an empire of laughter. She was larger than life, brilliant, fearless, and endlessly inventive. A woman who broke barriers in an industry built for men. Off-screen, though, life was never quite as scripted. Health issues, personal struggles, and the quiet toll of decades in the spotlight. Her final public appearance at the Academy Awards in March 1989 is haunting in hindsight. Lucille is smiling, waving, the very picture of charm, but there's a subtle fragility in her posture, a hint of exhaustion in her eyes. The energy that once seemed inexhaustible now flickers, just a whisper of the unstoppable force she once was.
She was constantly trying to do it all, and I'm sure it must have been exhausting.
A month later, she was gone. That last image isn't just a photo, it's a bittersweet farewell. The laughter she gave the world frozen in a moment that almost betrays the finality lurking just beneath the sequins and spotlight. Lucille Ball's last public smile, radiant, commanding, is now forever tinged with the shadow of mortality, making it both iconic and eerily tragic. Gene Hackman, Hollywood's quiet titan, a man whose presence demanded attention without ever needing to shout. From The French Connection to Unforgiven, Hackman built a career on intensity, precision, and an almost uncanny ability to disappear into a role. Off-screen, he was notoriously private, a man who shielded his life from the glare of fame until his final chilling chapter. His last known photo, taken with his wife Betsy Arakawa 11 months before both were found dead in their home, is deceptively serene. They smile for the camera, holding each other close, radiating normalcy and warmth. But knowing what came next, the image becomes eerily sinister, a calm before before an unfathomable storm. The joy in their eyes feels almost staged, frozen in a moment that would never come again.
I don't have a project, Larry. If you have a script, I'll read it.
There's no script in front of you? No one's calling Gene Hackman?
No, it's probably all over.
It's more than just a picture. It's a haunting prelude. The iconic actor, who spent decades portraying tension, danger, and moral complexity, now unknowingly posed on the edge of real-life tragedy. That photograph doesn't just capture Gene Hackman, it hints at secrets, shadows, and a Hollywood ending twist too dark to ignore. Richard Burton, the tempestuous, magnetic force of Hollywood, a man whose voice could seduce, command, and break hearts all at once. He lived as loudly as he loved. From his legendary marriage to Elizabeth Taylor, to his whirlwind performances that seemed fueled by fire and bourbon. But that intensity came at a cost. A body and mind that rarely got a moment's peace.
I find it's been one of the things that's quite difficult in acting, is that I don't like to be touched by other actors or actresses or whatever.
His last known photo, snapped on the set of 1984 just 2 months before his death, is almost shocking in its intensity. Burton, always larger than life, looks gaunt, eyes sunken yet still piercing, a shadow of the lion he once was. Even in that frame, there's an unmistakable tension, like the camera captured not just an actor, but a man racing against time and losing. It's a chilling contrast. The icon whose talent seemed limitless now caught in a snapshot of fragility, mortality creeping into the frame. That photo doesn't just document a moment, it feels like a warning, a hint that even Richard Burton, the storm, the legend, the immortal voice of Hollywood passion, was about to vanish from the world forever. Elizabeth Taylor, Hollywood royalty whose life was a non-stop spectacle of glamour, scandal, and unshakable charisma. She wasn't just an actress, she was a force of nature, a queen whose every move, from epic films to headline-making romances, captivated the world. Behind the sparkle, though, her life was marked by illness, heartbreak, and excess, a contrast few could reconcile with her public persona.
Yes, no. But were you going through a very bad patch, like often alcohol?
Oh, I was makes the bottom.
Yeah.
Everything that had started, and obesity was part of it.
One of her last photos is haunting in its opulence and vulnerability. There she sits in a wheelchair, an oxygen tank by her side, yet adorned in gold jewelry and those iconic bold sunglasses. It's quintessential Liz. Even on the brink of death, the diva refuses to fade quietly. The image screams contradictions, frailty wrapped in defiance, vulnerability draped in glamour.
I was really in the pits.
But when did you start to get into real danger with booze then? Because a lot of people drink.
It's both tragic and provocative. The world sees the legend, the jewelry, the persona, but the oxygen tank whispers the truth. Hollywood rarely admits. Mortality spares no one, not even Elizabeth Taylor. That photo doesn't just capture her end. It immortalizes the spectacle of a life that refused to be ordinary, even in death. Mary Tyler Moore. The smile that lit up living rooms and redefined what it meant to be a woman on television. From the Dick Van Dyke Show to her trailblazing self-titled sitcom, she was optimistic personified, a beacon of charm, wit, and determination. Off-screen, life was messier, battles with health, personal losses, and the quiet toll of decades in the spotlight.
I need insulin to stay alive. It is, it's just therapy to keep going. What I can do is make sure that I keep my blood sugar down to a reasonable level.
One of her last public appearances before passing from pneumonia in 2017 shows that iconic smile, still warm, still inviting. But look closer. There's a fragility there, a softness in her eyes that hints at a body weakened by age and illness. The sparkle of her earlier years is still present, but it's now tempered with the shadow of mortality.
I miss the people more than anything because they were my best friends. You know, we spent so much time together. Yeah, I do miss it.
It's haunting in its subtlety. The world sees Mary Tyler Moore as forever cheerful, forever vibrant. But that final glimpse reminds us, even the most beloved stars eventually grow quiet. That photo captures a farewell disguised as a smile, the last wave from a woman who spent her life brightening the world, now quietly stepping out of it. James Dean, the eternal rebel, the brooding heartthrob whose intensity redefined youth and cool in the 1950s. In just a few short short years, he became a legend, embodying the restless energy, anger, and vulnerability of a generation. But fame and obsession came with a dangerous companion, a love of speed, risk, and living on the edge.
I always am extra cautious, because no one knows what they're doing. Half the time, you don't know what this guy's gonna do with that one.
That last photo, James leaning casually against his Porsche just 9 days before the fatal crash, is almost prophetic in its recklessness. He's stylish, confident, seemingly untouchable, yet there's a tension in his posture, a hint of defiance that borders on fatal. It's easy to look at it now and see the shadow of death creeping in, a young man flirting with fate and not even realizing how close it already was.
Take it easy driving. The life you might save might be mine.
The image isn't just a photo, it's a prelude. James Dean, immortalized in stillness, perfectly captured the dangerous magnetism that would take him too soon. The charm, the rebellion, the arrogance, all frozen just before the world lost him forever. That picture whispers a haunting truth. Some legends are born to burn out, and Dean's final shot was already a warning. James Gandolfini, the towering presence behind Tony Soprano, a man who could make you fear him, pity him, and somehow love him all at once. Off-screen, he was warm, grounded, and fiercely private, a contrast to the mob boss persona that defined his career. He carried the weight of fame quietly, letting his craft speak louder than gossip.
I mean, I have a little bit of a temper, but it's, a useless temper. Doesn't accomplish anything generally, it's just a lot of ranting.
One of his last photos, captured while dining with family in Rome just days before his fatal heart attack, is deceptively ordinary. Laughter, a toast, the simple joys of life. But knowing what came next, it's almost unbearably poignant. The image of him alive, vibrant, and surrounded by loved ones becomes a haunting snapshot of normalcy on the edge of tragedy.
Stunning loss, actor James Gandolfini dying at the age of 51.
It's chilling to think about. The man who played life and death stakes on screen, immortal in his power and menace, was taken by something as silent and indiscriminate as a heart attack. That final photo doesn't just show James Gandolfini enjoying a meal. It frames the fragile human truth behind the legend. Even giants can fall without warning, and sometimes the most ordinary moments are the last. Whitney Houston, the voice that defined a generation, a powerhouse who could shatter hearts and ceilings with a single note. From gospel prodigy to global superstar, she had it all. Talent, fame, and the world at her feet. But behind the glittering smile and platinum hits, demons lurked. Addiction, personal turmoil, and the crushing pressure of being a legend too young.
God grant you I partied, but there have been times when I was going through a lot of emotional stress and my eating habits were awful.
Her last known photo, leaving the True Hollywood Club just 2 days before her tragic death, captures her in a way that chills the spine. She's stylish, seemingly composed, yet there's a weariness in her eyes, a shadow of the battles no one saw on stage. The image looks casual, fleeting, ordinary, but the contrast with what happened next makes it disturbingly ominous. It's almost cinematic in its darkness. The final picture of a star who dazzled millions, moments before she would be found lifeless in her hotel bathtub. The photo doesn't just show Whitney Houston, it foreshadows the heartbreak, the mystery, and the tragedy of a life lived under an unforgiving spotlight. Raul Julia, the magnetic talent who brought Gomez Addams to life, infusing the character with charm, wit, and a mischievous elegance that few could match. Off-screen, he was fiercely devoted to his craft and family, a man of intellect and generosity, yet burdened by the relentless demands of Hollywood and a body that was quietly rebelling.
It's essentially the same note, except that I feel the more I play it, the more I get into it, the more I'm always working on it.
His last known photo, taken about a month before his death at just 54 from stroke complications, is haunting in its subtlety. He's smiling, poised, exuding the same warmth that made audiences fall in love with him, but there's a fragility lurking beneath, a physical vulnerability that the camera can't hide.
End of June, I'll still be refining and working and getting deeper into it.
It's a jarring contrast. The vibrant, larger-than-life Gomez frozen in a fleeting human moment, already shadowed by the illness that would claim him. That photo doesn't just capture Raul Julia, it foreshadows the cruel brevity of life, reminding us that even the most charismatic stars can be struck down when we least expect it. Cory Monteith, the boy next door turned global teen idol, whose charm and vulnerability made Glee's Finn Hudson unforgettable. He had the kind of smile that lit up screens and hearts hearts alike. Yet beneath the fame, the pressure, and the personal struggles were quietly mounting, fueled by the very demons the spotlight often ignores.
Pressure? Do you feel pressure?
Well, I guess, I mean, if I can inspire kids to do what they love to do and follow their dreams and follow their passions, I mean, that is...
His last known photo, taken just days before his tragic death from a overdose in July 2013, is painfully ordinary, a casual snapshot that masks the turbulence beneath. The grin looks effortless, the eyes bright. Yet knowing what came next, every detail feels loaded. The posture, the subtle tension, the fleeting weight of a life teetering on the edge. It's heartbreak wrapped in an image. The world sees a smiling star. Hindsight sees a silent warning. Cory Monteith's final picture isn't just a memory. It's a haunting reminder of how fame, pressure, and hidden pain can converge, leaving the brightest stars to fall when we least expect it. Paul Walker, the man who made Fast Cars, Family, and Adrenaline look effortless on screen, a Hollywood star whose charm and down-to-earth persona made him beloved far beyond the Fast and the Furious franchise. Off camera, he was equally magnetic, compassionate, loyal, and seemingly untouchable, until fate had other plans.
Universal wanted another one, so we're just like, okay, let's go. We didn't have near the time that we wanted to get this thing popping, get it rolling. The good thing is that it's a pretty well-oiled machine at this point.
His last known photo, taken just moments before the fatal car crash that claimed his life at only 40, is chilling in its normalcy. He's relaxed, smiling, caught in a mundane moment that hides the speed, risk, and tragedy hurtling toward him. There's an eerie tension when you look at it now, a life frozen right before it vanished.
Fast and Furious actor Paul Walker died from a combination of traumatic injuries and burns. That's the finding of the LA coroner.
It's almost unbearably haunting. The photo captures a man alive, vibrant, laughing, completely unaware that within seconds, everything would end. Paul Walker's final image isn't just a snapshot, it's a grim prelude, a reminder of how fleeting life can be, even for someone who seemed larger than life. Alan Rickman, the voice that could command a room, the presence that made villains unforgettable, yet the warmth that made friends and fans adore him off-screen. From Die Hard to Harry Potter, he was a master of subtlety, charm, and controlled intensity, a man whose talent transcended the spotlight. His final public photo, snapped in London just a month before his death from pancreatic cancer at 69, is quietly haunting. He stands poised, composed, the signature Rickman elegance intact, yet there's a fragility in his frame, a hint of fatigue in his eyes that betrays the battle he was waging behind the scenes.
Whenever young actors now say to me, what advice do you give me? I'm thinking about training, I want to be an actor, whatever. I say, forget about acting.
It's a subtle, eerie contrast. The commanding presence fans loved, now tempered by vulnerability that the camera almost doesn't catch, except for those who know how to look. That final image doesn't just show Alan Rickman. It whispers a truth Hollywood often hides. Even giants of talent and charisma cannot escape the final curtain, and sometimes the bravest face is the one worn quietly in public just before the end. Clark Gable, Hollywood's ultimate leading man, the king of Hollywood, whose charm, rugged handsomeness, and charisma defined an era. From Gone with the Wind to countless classics, he was the embodiment of masculine glamour, the man women swooned for and men aspired to be. But behind that allure was a body and spirit worn by decades of excess, hard living, and relentless work. That final photo, hugging Marilyn Monroe on the set of The Misfits, is almost heartbreakingly symbolic. Two icons, two fragile legends, caught in a fleeting moment of warmth and camaraderie, unaware that it was the last film for both. Gable's once commanding frame appears tired, his face softer, lines deeper, a stark contrast to the king of Hollywood we remember.
From the undiscovered country from whose bourne no traveler returns, Clark Gable may review a full life, rounded out as an airman in the service of his country during World War II.
It's haunting in hindsight. The image captures not just a friendship, but the looming shadows of mortality. Clark Gable, still radiant with star power, would die before the movie even hit theaters. That photo doesn't just show an embrace. It encapsulates the bittersweet tragedy of Hollywood brilliance, fleeting fame, and lives ended just as legacies were cemented. Kirk Douglas, the titan of Hollywood, a man whose grit, intensity, and iconic jawline defined a generation of cinema. From Spartacus to Paths of Glory, he was fearless on screen and resilient off it, surviving decades of Hollywood's highs, lows, and scandals with a charisma few could match. His last known photo, taken with Catherine Zeta-Jones in his twilight years, is both striking and bittersweet. At over 100 years old, the legendary Douglas is frail, yet his eyes still glimmer with mischief and strength. The juxtaposition is almost surreal. The Hollywood giant who once dominated screens, now gently leaning, smiling beside a modern star, a bridge between eras.
Turning now to the tributes that are coming in for actor Kirk Douglas, one of the last movie stars from Hollywood's golden age. Amy is here with more on his incredible life and career.
It's a haunting farewell. The image doesn't just capture Kirk Douglas. It captures the unstoppable passage of time, the quiet dignity of a legend at the very end, and the reminder that even giants eventually become shadows of the power they once wielded. That photograph is a final curtain, poignant, respectful, yet impossibly human. Charlie Chaplin, the eternal tramp, the man whose genius turned silent film into universal poetry, whose comedy could make the world laugh while his heart ached in ways only he knew. Off-screen, he was complex, controversial, and intensely private, a legend living under the weight of his own mythos. His last known photograph, taken shortly before his peaceful death on December 25, 1977, at his Swiss home, is quietly mesmerizing. Chaplin sits serene, a faint smile playing across his face, eyes reflecting both mischief and the profound wisdom of a life lived at the extremes of fame, love, and scandal. There's no fanfare, no camera flash, just a man finally at rest, decades of cinematic history behind him. It's haunting in its simplicity. The icon who once carried the world's laughter now rests in stillness, a subtle reminder that even immortals must eventually fade. That photo doesn't just show Charlie Chaplin. It captures the delicate, peaceful closing of a life that was as extraordinary, complicated, and unforgettable as the characters he brought to life. Ray Liotta, the man whose intensity and edge made Goodfellas unforgettable, a star who could dominate a scene with a glare, a word, or a smirk. Off-screen, he balanced that raw energy with charm and warmth, but his life was often a mix of Hollywood highs and deeply private struggles. His last known photo, taken in the Dominican Republic with his fiancée just days before his sudden death in his sleep, is disturbingly ordinary. Laughter, casual affection, vacation bliss. But knowing what followed, it's almost sinister in hindsight. A life captured at its calmest moments, moments before everything ended unexpectedly. It's a chilling contrast. The man who portrayed danger and intensity on screen is frozen in an image of peace and love, a snapshot that now reads like a final farewell disguised as joy. That photo doesn't just show Ray Liotta. It warns us of the fragile line between life and death, even for those who seem larger than life. Robin Williams, the unstoppable whirlwind of comedy, the man whose energy, genius, and heart lit up every screen he touched. He made the world laugh until it hurt, yet behind the manic humor was a private storm, battling Lewy body dementia, depression, and the crushing weight of a mind betraying itself. One of his last known photos, taken with a screen monkey named Crystal, is almost hauntingly innocent. Robin smiling, playful, the mischief in his eyes still there. But now, knowing what came next, the image carries a sinister undertone. That joyous, carefree expression masks the turmoil and confusion raging inside. A man who could make millions laugh, yet could not save himself from the darkness. It's heartbreaking and unsettling. The photo captures both life and the foreshadowing of tragedy. Robin Williams, larger than life on screen, frozen in a moment of levity, moments before the world would lose him. That picture doesn't just show him smiling. It's a haunting echo of brilliance, pain, and a life taken far too soon. Bob Hope, the legendary entertainer whose career spanned vaudeville, radio, film, and television, and whose charm and wit made him a household name for generations. He was more than a comedian. He was an institution, a man who could make the world laugh while quietly carrying the weight of a century of life. His final public photo, taken just 2 months before his death at 100, is striking in its poignancy. Hope is smiling, upright, still radiating the charisma that defined him, yet there's a subtle fragility, the slow surrender of time visible in the posture and the eyes. The sparkle remains, but it's tempered with the quiet acknowledgement of life's final act. It's haunting and remarkable. Even at 100, the king of comedy refused to fade entirely, yet that last image now carries the bittersweet weight of farewell. Bob Hope's final photograph doesn't just show a smiling entertainer, it captures the inevitable truth that even legends must must bow to mortality, no matter how long or brilliantly they shine. Even legends aren't safe. These final photos expose the truth Hollywood hides. Smiles, glamour, and fame can't stop death, tragedy, or secrets. Behind every star's last image lies a haunting farewell the world wasn't ready for. That's it for today. See you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.